Hello and welcome to Payments Unfiltered. With me today I have Berkley Egenes, who's the Chief Marketing and Growth Officer at Xsolla. Berkley spent the last decade working in the gaming industry, helping game developers and publishers build, scale, fund and distribute games globally. Today we'll be talking about how the gaming industry is evolving with the changing landscape and regulation, how you can actually scale a game and take it globally, and the things that Berkley's most excited about when he looks forward and the biggest trends upcoming. Let's dive into the conversation. I'd love to start with maybe you could tell us a bit about Xsolla, who you are, what you do.
Sure. I'm Berkley Egenes, the Chief Marketing and Growth Officer at Xsolla. I've been here for about 5.5 years, loved every bit of it. Learning and growing within the industry from a video game commerce perspective. So we're the global leader in video game commerce. And what does that mean? You can think of us as like the Shopify of video games, to be able to provide game developers around the world to distribute games to the players so that no matter where they're located around the world, that they can play on the platform that they prefer and then pay through the payment method of choice, whether it's a digital wallet, a credit card, other forms of electronic, payment methods that are out there that are local to that geography. We represent over 1,000 different payment methods, working with different PSBs around the world to make that possible. So it could be, everything from paying you used to paying your groceries like on a smartwatch or something like that, or a digital wallet, and you're an unbanked player or person, meaning you don't have a bank account. We provide that service and capability working with partners such as like Pix in Brazil to enable that to put a digital wallet experience into the checkout for your game. So doesn't matter where you're located around the world, that you can play and then pay how you want.
Amazing. I'm a former gamer, so
Nice.
That talks to me. So if I'm a game developer and I want to monetize my game, what do I have to do? What are the considerations there?
So first of all, have an amazing game. You get developers, go do what you're good at. Create something beautiful, an immersive experience, something that fans, players, users want and to experience, whether it's on a mobile platform or a PC web-based game. Focus on the game, focus on the game mechanics and what's going on. Then figure, as you're building it and putting it out there and getting ready to launch, clearly you need a monetization strategy. That's what we're able to help them with, is go, okay, you want to go free to play. Awesome. Here's the mechanics that we need to make from a monetization perspective, the offers that you need to do. We need to do some pre-orders because you're pre-launch, set up game keys and able to do that to demo the game, and then be able to play. And then what's the next step? Because at the end of the day, you need to have a business going into it. Great games are great businesses too, and we enable that possibility to happen. So think about the mechanics. Do you want to do subscriptions? Do you want to do, we call it premium games, which means you pay for it and you're done. There's no more monetization. Or free to play, the Fortnite model. Everybody wants to do the Fortnite model because they're like, look at what Epic built and what's going on, the empire that Fortnite is today because of the free to play mechanics, skins. We were just talking about basketball offline and football offline, and what you see from those, the IP that comes into Fortnite as an example, to be able to buy that skin and make that possibility. So to think about that based on the journey of what you're creating, and that we make that possible no matter what method of monetization that you choose.
So I have to make some very big decisions because I
Sure.
imagine it impacts the game and
Yes.
experience itself, right?
100%.
So it's kind of core to the game I'm building.
Right.
So how do I think about subscription versus free to play with add-ons? How do I balance that kind of trade-off consideration?
So those are very early on. The idea is we see storyboards for games. And then we're like, hey, that looks cool. Here's the storyline of what's going on. And the next question is how you want to monetize that, particularly when we support games that are pre-funding. And as they go into it, and we help them make those decisions, they come to us as here's my recommendation, here's my thoughts. All right, cool, we have this idea. This is how this game did it. This game does it as well. A lot of people already have it in their head. They're like, hey, I want to do it how Tilting Point does with Warhammer, or Star Trek games is an example, or I want to do it. I just want to replicate Fortnite. We hear that a lot. I want the Roblox model. I want season passes and put into it because we're going to do content updates every quarter. That makes sense because you're thinking about the updates, the distributions, the updates, what you're going to do for the next patch that you're going to launch. And then there's going to be some changes. So I was like, okay, if you're going to go on a quarterly method, then a season pass and a subscription probably makes sense for your game. Now, if you're just going to be like, hey, we're constantly doing updates and we want new IP to come in and go into it, you're clearly free to play. So we're going to set that up, and then you're going to have online distribution for that game and then being able to monetize online and make that a possibility for them. And we create those platforms for everybody. So those are early decisions that you do have to make into it pre-launch. And then we'll see some people that'll launch and be like, hey, we have an opportunity. We're hearing from the community that we need to offer monthly updates. We need to offer monthly incentives. Some of them, we have partners that do 2 times a week. They have different offers that come out just because the fans in the community, the Discord channels, the social have like, I want more. I want more. I've already played it. I've already run the gauntlet. I quote, finish your game. You haven't finished it, but like I'm finished playing with that skin. I want more.
And if I'm a game developer, obviously I know nothing about payments.
Sure.
And
okay.
yeah, what are the things I need to think about in order to literally accept the funds and receive the cash in my account? Like, how do I navigate that kind of new world?
That's the thing we talk about. So if we call it garage games. So if it's like the 6 of us in a garage or an office or wherever, a dorm room, you hear that all the time now, is how do we go do that? You need to be able to monetize. You're like, hey, I can accept payment in the United States. Sounds pretty straightforward, but you have taxation in every state. Come to Europe and it's like, it's just the euro. No, you got every country. Like we got to deal with things from a specifics. That's what people don't think about. And so you need to come to a provider. You're like, hey, I'm going to go to PayPal. Very, very common that people will reach out to them first and set that up from a payment method and like kind of PayPal and handle stuff. Then as you get to a certain level, you're like, hey, we're growing, we're expanding. Oh, we have this crazy pickup that an influencer had in South Korea. We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to get, you can't just turn that on overnight. The legal, the taxation, the compliance, that everything that goes with it, you're going to need to partner with somebody. And that's where we come in. We operate as a merchant of record. So we're technically able to help distribute the game and then sell it around the world on behalf of the game. And so the game doesn't have to worry about it. You can be based here in London, but you had this cultish following in South Korea, as we use that as an example. You don't have to be there. We are there and operating on your behalf and being able to collect payment through the different channels that your players in South Korea are used to. And we handle all that for you on behalf of you. And from a small fee, we'll be able to accept that transaction and then give you your payment at the end of the month to put that together and make that happen. So then you're able to like forecast revenue projections. One of you better be finance in your company and what's going on. And you go to your accountant or whoever that you're working with to get that and to forecast that. So then you can go, okay, we need to bring a couple more devs on to go do these updates that go on too. You can forecast things and make business decisions with that by us allowing us to take care of those services for you.
And if you don't think about payments, it stops you growing.
Completely. Or you just have a hobby. And that's not ultimately that's not your dream. You might do that on the first one, but your second, third game that you're going to put out there, you want to develop a business. You've got something. If you're developing the second game or have a vision for the third, you're about to develop a real business here. And then that's the opportunity that you partner with somebody like us. So you just go focus on what you're good at. Mm-hmm. Go focus this amazing, creative, immersive experience and what's happening, no matter what platform it's on. You go do that. We'll take care of the hard, ugly stuff in the background sometimes.
That's how I like to describe my work too.
Yes. It's, it's the non-sexy part of gaming. Everybody thinks about the gaming, thinks about the merch, thinks about cosplay, thinks about influencers. That's all fun. And that's the enjoyment that we have to help everybody enjoy the game around the world. It's in our ethos, it's in our mission statement, and we take care of that on the back end. Chargebacks, the complexity that comes with those, challenges, dispute resolution, things that you have from a payment perspective that you don't think about. You're like, everybody's going to buy my game and they're going to love it. And like, whoops, they bought 2 versions or they bought 2 copies, things like that. Or we talk to parents all the time. The kid just bought $3,000 worth of skins on whatever game. And I'm like, well, here's how we can help you out going into that. And let's put some parental controls and processes in place for people. It's like, first of all, take your credit card off the player profile and what's going on, set up limits and allowances and things that you have from parents when they see that and what's going on, but able to give the kid the freedom to go play the game if that's what the case is. And we have some adults that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on mobile game. We have one game partner that's doing $10,000 transactions for digital skin on a mobile game.
Wow.
And you're like, you think about that and you're like, that doesn't make sense. It's very, very common, actually.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And so what do you kind of see as the payment trends in gaming? It's a digital good, so I'm assuming fraud chargebacks are high. Can you maybe talk to that
It can
bit?
be a challenge. Yeah, exactly. So trends, very much digital wallets, 100% around the world and what you're seeing and what's happening. Particularly you look at like the emerging markets where you have banked and unbanked players. Most of the time in emerging markets, they're unbanked, meaning they don't have a bank account. It's a cash-based system, but then from work, you get your salary, but you get it in cash. And then you need to take it into a digital currency to pay your bills, to pay for your games, to everything else that you have. That's what you're going to see more and more is the digital wallets that are coming around. And to think about it, like, in the States, it's Apple Pay, a lot of people, or Google Pay, putting that out there, and it's then becoming more prolific in the user space. What they've been doing in Asia for years and years and years is think, hey, let me go buy this on my watch. Let me scan this. Let me scan the QR code and let me use it for WeChat Pay, as an example. You're seeing more of that coming out and it being more common. Middle East, Africa, the continent as a whole, because it's very mobile based. Everybody, majority, large share is use everything in their ecosystem is based on the mobile device because of high speed internet, and big rigs are not commonality from a PC perspective, but it's all mobile based experiences. So you're going to see more of that. Southeast Asia, big thing as well for the digital apps. And then how do you deal with dispute resolution? It's like we were talking about a little bit earlier. You have challenges like, oh, I didn't make that payment. So we have the industry-leading anti-fraud protections, one of the services that comes with our payments platform. But provide it's automatic. It comes into it. So we detect over 99% of fraud transactions come into it. And then inevitably there's going to be something called a chargeback that people are like, hey, I didn't make that transaction. They're confident they make the transaction. We go in and evaluate those cases. We first, through the anti-fraud solution, being able to use machine-based learning tools and algorithms that we've seen was like, okay, yes, this hit the checks and balances. Was there two-factor authentication on this? Did it had sign in? Like very clear things. And like, yes, that's a real transaction. Move on. And then there'll be something to chargeback. So we will win. Our chargeback win rate's approximately 60%. So the industry average is like 20 to 30. When you look at it from a e-commerce perspective, it's because of 20 years of experience that we've developed working with game developers, seeing those scenarios that will come up, and then we can realize that through that. And we fight that on behalf of the game developer. You don't even know as a game developer that this is happening and what's going on because we operate as a merchant of record for you, and that being able to detect that, deal with that chargeback situation. Because when they call customer service on a payment, they're going to call us. And our team around the world does that 24/7. Over 25 different languages that we support around the world because players everywhere, and putting that out there and being able to manage those issues because a chargeback can cost you 2.5x the transaction if it's a real chargeback. And what's going on, that's expensive. And that hits you, developer. You will see that one. You'll see that on your bottom line. You're like, what happened here? Like a $10 transaction costs you $25 to return it just from the payment itself. You've already collected it. You already put it in the bank. Now you got to pull it out of the bank. Like those things, those complexities you really don't think about as you're creating your amazing game in the garage or the dorm room. And like that is not even on your roadmap and what's possible of situations that are going to come into it. So we're able to handle that on behalf of the developer.
And how big of that do you think is a part of the strong value proposition for an MOR model versus them building it themselves?
It's a huge part of it to be able to do that. So it's very much of a value proposition that we're able to provide as the merchant of record. So people will provide services at a cheaper fee and what's going on, but don't have that capability. They don't have the chargeback win rate. They don't have the anti-fraud system protection. They're not able to cover as many payments as we are. So that's worth a few points here and there to go into it. That is worth the 5% traditional transaction fee that we charge per transaction. It is worth your time. And you can go through there and you're like, I'm gonna try it my own. Go ahead. Try it. Encourage you to try it. And a month later, a lot of times we have people come back and it's like, all right, this is not fun. This is painful. We're losing money. and by dealing with these things. And so they come back to us and we'll have that conversation. So it's time consuming. It's expensive for people to go do that, because if it's just us and we just launched a game, we don't have that experience to go learn that. Somebody's going to go, okay, one of us is going to be the business guy or girl on the team and putting that together. We're going to have to go figure that out. That's time away from development. It's time of distribution, time of planning a way that you're dealing with it. Next thing you know, you're the CFO and you didn't plan on being the CFO and putting that together when you can operate with the merchant of record and to have the coverage you need.
And so you have a lot of responsibility on behalf of the kind of game publishers and developers that you support. How do you think about navigating the kind of regulatory landscape? Because I know there's been a couple of things that have come out.
There's some change recently.
The Epic versus Apple and like the Digital Markets Act. Could you maybe explain firstly what those couple of big things that are changing the landscape are?
Sure. And
what are they changing? And how are you navigating it?
So it's a very good question, and it's a very big topic right now. We always like to say gaming or the rules of the game has changed again, because it has. You wake up sometimes in the morning and we're like, what? And you read something new of what's happening. So April 30th, when that ruling came down from the California courts in the Epic versus Apple, what that did for mobile game developers is provided the opportunity to have a direct link out to a digital shop.
What happened before that?
Before that, you could only monetize in the app. So that was, you had to use payments inside of iOS. So you're playing the game on an iOS phone, you can only make that purchase here online in certain scenarios where you're in the gameplay. Now, you were, based on the terms of service, being able to create what was called a web shop. We've been running web shops for mobile games, since 2001, and really learning through this process to create an experience online, so more of an e-com that you're traditionally used to, provide different offers, incentives, it could be a subscription model, a different bundle, something of value that you can't get in the app itself. You connect in through the user login, make that purchase online. So example, you're on your tablet, you make that purchase on your tablet, you jump in the subway, and then you're able to play on your mobile phone because we connected that up. Now, since April 30th, you can make that direct link to that web shop. You couldn't do that before. You couldn't have in-app messaging to a third-party payment or a web shop. Now you can do that directly. So the example I always like to use that most people are familiar with was Spotify. So before April 30th, you would go into Spotify, hey, I want to update my subscription. You're like, click, click, click. I want to go to premium. And they were like, message, because I did this myself. And it was like, we know this is annoying, but you have to log in on your PC and to go make this change in your subscription, and then come back to us and like, what's going on. Now you can do the direct link right there. It would open up what's in a mobile browser, that purchase opportunity, make the switch from free to premium, and be able to make that happen. And you're back in the experience. You listen to your favorite tunes while you're working out, walking the dog or whatever. Same concept in gaming now. So you're in the middle of a session, you're out of gems. You need more currency to get to the next level, to level up your experience. You can do that with one click. There are messages that can pop up and say, hey, we have an offer to top you up. One click connects into your credit card or Apple Pay in there, make that purchase, but you're actually in a mobile browser, close the window, you're back in the game, your currency is all set up and ready to go, and you're off and running. It can happen as that quick.
And what's the benefit of doing it in the browser?
The benefit of the browser is higher conversion, more control of that branding experience that you have as a developer, because at first you could only have standard offers of what's going on. Now you can offer something based on the player's experience. What's going on? Hey, you're blowing through your gems. He's blowing through skins, and she needs more of all of it. So you're like, hey, here's a bundle offer, and what's going on? Or, hey, it's the first time you log back into the game, and it was like, hey, Serena, we noticed you haven't been in the game in a while. Here's an offer to go top up your experience. Here you go, one click. Oh, that's awesome, thanks. One click, make the purchase, connects in through Apple Pay, and I'm hot and I'm running off into the experience. Less clicks, less friction, more simplicity. And then you as the brand, game developer, can own that throughout the experience, when everything before was within the iOS experience. It was controlled within that ecosystem. So you can do more promotion, you can do direct links, you can promote everything from a social experience to go do that. Sounds like a lot, but from a consumer, it's like 1-2 clicks. Boom, I'm off and running. I can have that unique offer. I was like, oh, thank you, game. Thank you, developer. I'll be able to do that through a direct link. Now, if you're in the UK, where we are right now, you can't do that for players here. But you could if your players in the United States. So this is where we kick in too, as well, to help out, figure that out, to be able to target those users because they're in the United States. Now with DMA, it's a little different in Europe, what goes into it. So the United States, that ruling on April 30th was there's no fee. Now there's a tiered structure and there's multiple levels that goes into it from a European perspective through the Digital Markets Act that is going to enable that possibility. So the fees come down, but yet there's some complexity that goes into it. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Google had the same situation, came up in the United States. So everybody's working through this. This is what we're saying. Change happens every single day. Child privacy laws, rules, and regulations here in the UK, you have to be aware of that. 6 developers in a room don't know how to do that. And that's okay. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be creating an experience. We're able to help provide leadership, recommendations. We sent out emails straight away and was like, hey, rules have changed. Here's what's going on. Something to be aware of based on you game, where you are. You're also, hey, we're just focused on the iOS version here. Now we're focused on Google. Now it's DMA. We've got to figure this out. And you're in Europe and your gamers are here. So rules constantly change, and to be on top of that, policy. And then you're going to start seeing it move around the world. This is our prediction of what's going to happen. So rules are going to change, modifications are going to change. And that's really just mobile experience. So any policy changes that happen around the world, it could be South Korea, it could be Southeast Asia, it could be South America, Europe, it doesn't matter, Africa, then we have to be aware of those from a financial perspective, financial policies. And our team is an incredible organization that puts that together, and they just work with the payment systems. We have a solid group that puts that together. They're traveling around as well, talking in different markets and different payment systems. So, hey, here's how we're going to set things up. Here's how we're going to modify. Here's how we're going to evolve based on the changes that are going to happen. And we have to be on top of that. And it takes an army to go do that, of a great team and village to put it together, to make that possible for the game developers, no matter if it's 6 people or a company of 100,000 people.
What's kind of really exciting by the sounds of it is that now game developers have another interface that they can leverage to optimize the conversion or upsell rate, or really just explore how it can help benefit them, which is awesome.
Right.
It also sounds like there's been this monopoly and coupling almost of the platform that's facilitating the game, the mobile phone, maybe even like the PlayStation.
Sure.
And then they also own the payment system. And it now sounds like there's almost this like decoupling as well. So what is your, if you had to put on your future looking hat through your crystal ball, what do you foresee as like, in the next kind of 2-3 years, what does payments look like in a games environment where we're not just talking mobile, as you rightly said, like we have the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the other kind of interfaces for games, even the VR headsets in the future as well?
Decoupling is the perfect world. Democratization of payments in games is going to happen, meaning just opening up freedom of choice for game developers to make some of those decisions where they want to go. They're going to make decisions based on what is possible. And say Poland is an example, where you can now pay with points and use your points to pay for the transaction. You're going to see multiple things that are going to come up like that are going to enable new things that you didn't think was possible. There's more things coming down the pipeline. There's more from us. I know that we're working on. We're going to be bringing on more payment methods into the system, but you're going to see policy changes. You're going to see the decoupling. It's a great word to use here, and to provide that freedom of choice to developers so that they can take back control and manage that process for the direct-to-consumer experience. That's really what it's about, is harnessing the choice and owning the brand experience for the game developers in what it was traditionally, a couple of years ago, not really all that possible, or it was very complex on how to navigate, and we're here to help.
And how much of that is applicable to other digital good-based companies or products? I mean, gaming in essence is a digital product. So how much of that kind of forecast is applicable to other kind of digital goods?
It's very applicable. Music is a big thing that you're seeing is like, how are you monetizing? How are you able to offer that experience and distribution of your content to that different geography? You're going to see that happen as well. I mean, example from earlier from Spotify, it was a real situation that came up from a mobile experience and what they're able to do post April 30th in the States. But you're going to see more of that ecosystem coming together. Entertainment content, movies, you're going to start seeing that as well. And like, there's more and more movies are being distributed through the different platforms, through Apple, through Netflix, Hulu, or different experiences, particularly in the States. Those are the ones I use. And view content through. But you're seeing stuff now on airplanes, like distribution and like saving your profile. If you fly Delta, you can save your profile in the back of the seat back.
Interesting.
And like, hey, I finished the movie that I had before and I haven't finished. Or like, hey, can I connect my account? Can I connect the Wi-Fi up? Put that together and you know, potentially make a purchase. You're going to see that experience coming. And that's the expectation, though, of what's coming into it and what users are really experiencing. There's going to be a screen in front of you everywhere. Airplanes are there. You're seeing it in taxi cabs, things like experiences like that, to where there's an opportunity. You're going to see a brand in front of you. And it's like, hey, welcome, Berkley. And you're like, whoa. Like, because I logged in. And then be able to see it with 2 clicks, I can update an account. Or, hey, you need to pay your bill. You haven't paid your electrical bill. It's like, what? And it's like, being able to do that because it's connected to my digital wallet through my bank.
Very
or
cool.
my telephone. What's going on?
Nice. And you talked a lot around like going into different countries.
Sure.
So I'm going to have to ask the payment method question.
Yes.
So how do you figure out, cool, well, let's use your example from earlier. I'm a games developer. I want to distribute in South Korea. Hey, Berkley, like, help me distribute in South Korea. And maybe, you know, first time you're looking at that region, for example, how do you figure out, well, this is the set of payment methods we need in order to make sure you have the conversion that you need?
For sure. So we look at like the game experience. We look at the brand and like what they want to do and where they want to go and market. And we're able to turn those on for them. And there's choice. There's ability to go, like, it's through our publisher account. You can, the payment methods are all listed and you go click, 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 essentially. And then we help you turn that on. Most of the time we recommend turn them all on. If you're going into a new geography, you go into Japan as an example, Line and PayPay. You're going to click both of those, and then you're going to have over 50% of the market share as well. Paytm in India, same thing. Partnership that we have that opens up 50% of the market immediately because people use that digital wallet experience.
How do you figure out the right payment methods in order to offer?
We have an incredible team that does that.
Yeah.
They are researching all the time. So we launched 11 different payment methods in Middle East and Northern Africa in March. We have a whole slew of ones that we're going to be launching next week. We've already signed contracts. We've already put that together. So we listen to our developers like, hey, we need to go here. So we get in front of that conversation, and we have a full quote business development team that goes out, signs the PSP, goes through the whole legal parameters, ramifications, and be able from the license agreement connect that payment system up on the back end to provide that service to a game developer. So just as much as we're looking for more games to sign with Xsolla, we're also looking for payment systems to go do it. We don't have them all, but we're getting there. And we want anything that's new, and we just don't do the popular ones, as we'll say. You know, it's not just the MasterCards, the Visas, you know, the American Expresses of the world. It's where's that small micro payment method that somebody has and they have like 20% of, say, South Africa or Egypt as an example, then we're going to sign them because that's a significant number. To be able to open that opportunity up if you were wanting to go into those markets, and to give that, again, back to freedom of choice from the developer perspective. We want to turn that one on, or we don't want to turn that payment system on. There are specific needs that a developer will have, and we'll help make those decisions with them through our account management team.
And I assume you have a whole payment strategy yourself.
Yes.
Then that you have to manage to make sure that you have redundancy, you can optimize for rates.
For sure.
How do you think about that as a part of the service that you're providing?
So
and
it's an interesting.
And how do you go about actually doing that optimization?
Yeah. So here's a good situation: localizing payments. So let's be honest, the fee that you're going to charge in Brazil for your game or your currency is not the same fee you're going to charge in the United States. You've got to figure out that localized pricing strategy, what's going on. You have to make those decisions, and you'll try, fail, try again, A/B test, A, B, C, D, E test, as we'll say, those different pricing strategies that you'll have through different markets, and then the taxation, the rules that come into it take an effect to your pricing strategy of what you're going to do. We help game developers do that. And then we also, from the anti-fraud and protection, you know, we're like, hey, I can get this deal better if I get in Brazil. Nope, your IP is in the United States. So your bank account's here, your IP's here, your IP address is here. That's where you need to like follow protocol. And we make sure that that gets handled, things you wouldn't think about. They'd be able to make that possible.
And I assume that also varies based on the type of payment as well, right?
Sure.
So we talked around subscriptions earlier. You talked about Pix. They're just releasing Pix Automatico for recurring payments.
Yeah.
So these are all of the things that I imagine you have to think about, because you probably think, well, we have all of these game developers in that market and they do subscriptions, and we need to be able to offer them.
Connect that up. So the two teams, so we have literally two business development teams, one to sign games and then bring them on, and the other with payment systems. So they have to connect to each other in the back end to be able to make that a possibility and make that connection. Or we'll have a game developer like, hey, we're going here. And we're like, all right, got you. Because you have, again, some influencer community that blew up in Kenya that you're like, hey, we need to get this game available in Kenya. So we'll look at those payment methods to make that sure that happens very quickly, and putting it together based on the push and pull that we get from developers.
And what are the hardest problems that you face having to manage so many payment integrations?
We always have questions that was like, we need more. And to manage that process, and put that together and make sure, and then communicate it out to the team. We get like weekly emails now that say, hey, here's a new payment system. Here's a new payment system. Get this out to your team. Let them know about it and distribute that. That becomes very quick, and you're like, whoa, there's a lot being added. And like, that's true, so that we can provide that democratized experience for payment methods to be available to everyone, and so that they can make that choice. Do I want to turn that one on? Yes or no? There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't not turn somebody on to provide that service. And those are some question marks when we work with the team. Like, hey, you noticed, like, hey, you're getting a lot of traffic through Japan, but you only have one of the payment methods turned on. We should be turning on the other one. Let's open that up and see, kind of open the faucet up so that you can get more payments and more opportunities for players to come into it. Because the worst thing experience is like you're in a country as a player and you're like, they don't offer my payment system that I'm used to buying my groceries, paying my bills for, and I have to go like open up a Visa card. And I'm like, why?
They don't love your game that much, maybe.
Right. So then you're like, the conversion rate is really low. The cart abandonment could be high in that scenario because you're like, you don't offer this. So now I have to go get a credit card. That takes a minute to get done. I can't get in my game experience, and I get frustrated and walk away.
Another one I've seen is that they don't offer the local currency.
Correct.
So like they just offer the currency that they operate in, maybe euros. But if you're in the US and someone says, hey, this is going to be 10 euros,
right,
you're probably not going to want to.
And then there's, geopolitical situations that come up that currency conversion rate is not in your favor anymore. So you're like, well, that's more expensive for me. I'm going to wait. I'll wait next week. Hopefully it drops or it goes up, depending on what side of the fence you're on. Those are real world situations that go on. That's why we've continuously expanded. We're in over 130 different currencies that we're able to provide support for you. And like, again, you don't think about that as a developer. Even our mid-tier and enterprise don't worry about it. They're like, hey, we need to focus on game development. We need to focus on versioning. We need to think about merchandise. We need to think about, hey, by the way, we're going to do a movie now. And like, where does that team go and putting into an experience? And you see like the Minecraft movie just exploding. You see Mario, you see different games becoming movies. And really extending the life of that IP. Go focus on that. Let us figure out this stuff on the background for you and just seamlessly turn that on for you.
Yeah, I was talking to a merchant this morning, and they're based in Europe, and they're doing like tens of millions of pounds or euros a month in volume.
Sure.
They only offered euros until last week. Yeah. And now through what we're helping them do that, like they're now availing like 5-6 more currencies. Sure. And it's going to unlock like new regions, higher conversion. I just find it fascinating that, we have these entrepreneurs or game developers creating businesses. They're not payment experts. They don't know about payments. But
that's okay.
But at some point, if they don't at least hire someone to own it or kind of and scale it internally, or what they should do is give it to an expert.
Right.
It stops their business.
Exactly. And you'll cap out
That's nice.
your ability to grow that business. You think you're on an uptick and like you're at 5-10%. Well, let's take you to 20. Let's take you to 40 by opening up these payment systems. We've done that. We had some games that we worked with before, and they were like, hey, we want to go to Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. Real world experience, and they significantly grew their business as a company on a multiplier level by just turning on those payment systems for them to be able to make that happen. Those are real world situations that go on. Just simple fact, it was like, hey, they were just operating in euros. The community wants this. You're having these influencers are talking about these markets. We need to turn this on for you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like in a few clicks, you can go from operating in 3 or 4 markets to now changing your business.
Exactly. Now you're like, oh, we were just going to do version 2. Now we can financially do 3, 4, 5, just by doing a simple change on the back end.
Very interesting. Awesome. If there was going to be one thing that you're most excited about in the gaming industry and how payments is also going to enable it, like what are you most excited by?
What are we most excited about is just seeing the digital and physical world come together. It's something that there's been question marks, there's challenges to be able to do that. And to think about what's possible to where you buy a digital good in a game and it's something that it's a cosmetic in the game. So a skin, something like that, and then be able to go redeem and get the physical item as well because you did that during the same transaction. Things like that are going to be opened up, and things that we're working on with brands, with games, you're starting to see that. You're starting to see luxury goods being put into games. You're starting to see, I mean, we saw Jordan shoes in Fortnite. You're seeing, Louis Vuitton doing different things around the sports leagues around the world with the trunks on the trophy cases. You see it now. It was League of Legends first, actually, from a game perspective, and the finals. And next thing you know, it's NBA trophy. You're seeing now Formula One, Louis Vuitton, things like that are going on. You're going to start to see those ecosystems really colliding together and making that possible. You're going to see more entertainment come into games. And then how can you monetize that from like a music experience? How could I buy a music track with a game? How could I buy, the movie with the game experience? I haven't watched the movie, but I love the IP and I'm playing the game. Or, it kind of goes both ways. Some movies become games, games become movies. Like Uncharted was a game. Looking at Minecraft, the movie coming out just kind of exploded and putting that together. And now you're seeing that IP coming into, you're seeing Netflix get into games. Amazon's into games. They're also, you could buy your toilet paper, but you could also watch a game and watch a movie and play a game now with Amazon. You're going to see those worlds coming more and more together. So you're going to see some consolidation and brands that are going to be putting that together. And it can be a good thing because it brings those ecosystems together. Bring the Netflix, the Amazons, bring your telco, bring Verizon. 3 here, in Europe to be able to put that together. What's possible? Orange, people like that, you're going to start to see getting more integrated. The mobile device is going to completely change in gamings. The first thing you look around restaurants and you do see different things. You see the first thing that people, Gen Z and Alpha, are getting experience. They're on that mobile phone, but what are they doing? They're playing a game. That's the first thing that they're doing. That's their first experience with a mobile device. It's actually a game. So that connection that's going to happen with these digital natives that are coming up, that, not to date ourselves a little bit here, those that grew up on cartridges and consoles, but that was never even possible. But now you're going to see that collision kind of coming together, and it's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and it's been great having you. It's been awesome speaking.
Time. I appreciate it. I'm good to be here in London and do this in person.
Absolutely.
But it's a lot coming. It's a fun space to be in. People don't think it's like, the sexy thing, but it's what powers the experiences to be able to make that possible. And it's we're going to keep pushing. We hope everybody does, and they can collaborate and make the impossible possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers. That's a wrap for this episode of Payments Unfiltered. Thanks again to Berkley for joining us. Please subscribe to our podcast and share it with your network, and we'll see you next time.